tonight of elections. Today we have VP Activities and VP Welfare for question time. I just want to say thank you for all of you in the audience and people in the live stream for coming tonight, and of course thank you for all the candidates here we have. Just to let you know, we are being live streamed, as I said, on Instagram, so if you do have any questions later on YouTube, if you do have any questions, just do pop it in there, and then we will ask it later on. Before we start, just some details how this event will run. We'll have some preset questions, and then we will ask questions from the floor and through our live stream. In between the rounds, we do have a 10-minute short break, so don't you worry, you won't be sitting here the whole time, so you'll have time to grab drinks from the bar and everything else. So now that I've given you all the information, we have the VPs here for activities in discussion. On the stage, we have, starting from the end, we have Susan Grayson, we have Dhruv Bamrara, and we also have Sumaya Akhtar.
Let's go!
Welcome, all of you. Before we get going, we do have some statements from our candidates who couldn't be here tonight, which I will read out to you. We have Mariam Mumaz, and they said, taking several opportunities offered in the university allowed me to create change within the university, hosting mental well-being events in Word Society, social meetups between my fans and student ambassador groups. As your VP Activities, I aim to listen to all students, no matter their background, and employ more accessible student workshops regarding mental health, employability for their own personal development. I also aim to help students grow their society groups and sports and clubs on different platforms. Please consider voting for me. Can we have a round of applause for Marianne, please? And we have another one from Charlotte Henderson, and they've said, hey everyone, I'd like to send my sincerest apologies for not being able to attend question time. I have a responsibility to uphold at work and not be able to arrange it due to the rearrangement of the question time. I'll be suited to be your next VP Activities as I am determined to make changes students want. Being an energetic person means that I'm driven to make changes to you as students for wants and your needs. Thank you for listening to this statement, and once again, I apologize for not making it. Please vote Charlotte for your next VP Activities. Can we have a round of applause for Charlotte, please? Great, so let's get started. We have 2 minutes to answer each of the questions that we give you, and we will give everyone a chance to speak. Right, so, are we ready? Is the audience ready?
Yeah, let's go!
Amazing. Is the live stream ready? Yes, okay. Cool. First question is, for everyone, what are the biggest issues affecting students in sports and societies this year, and what do you think should be done about them? We'll start with Susan, and then we'll go Dhruv, and then we'll go Susan.
Hi there. Can you hear me? Okay. So I think one of the biggest issues is the visual aspect of seeing the societies and the sports clubs. I think that we need to improve the marketing and the advertisement of our societies and sports clubs, but also like reaching out into the local communities and seeing if we can develop some sponsorships and some scouting opportunities as well, because we have such an amazing sports clubs like the basketball team with Division 1 players. So I think we definitely need to give them a bit of support. I think we definitely need to work on some of the networking opportunities as well. So having collaborations with local companies, especially for like academic societies, but also with our just normal societies as well. But yeah, that's probably about it.
Great, thank you so much, Susan. Can we have a round of applause, please? Amazing. Andrew?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Perfect. So I feel it's paramount for everyone to feel inclusive in all our societies, so people are not afraid to come in and take part in our societies. Also the fact that there should be more networking, as Susan said, so people have more reach, and also, as I mentioned in my manifesto, that we should have international sports events, so people who are really good in the sports, excelling in their field, can have more chances to represent the country, also take the name of the university to greater heights. Yeah, I think that's pretty much about it.
Great, thank you so much.
I think in order to kind of enhance sports at university, we would need to enhance the disconnect between the campuses. I know that a lot of the matches happen at Harrow, but also at other universities when we have away games. And I think that Cavendish, Regent, and Marylebone are quite connected. We're in central London, whereas Harrow is a little bit further away. And I think that it can be quite difficult for students to make their way there. And I know that sports is often reserved for Wednesdays, but I think we should kind of promote this all throughout the week as well, because sometimes people have got external responsibilities. So I think definitely working on networking, as the other candidates have said. And I know that sports is something that's really integral to our university's ethos, so working on inclusivity would also be really integral to enhancing sports at uni.
Amazing, thank you. Moving on to the next question. So how do you think you can ensure that all students, including those marginalised groups, are able to participate in sports and societies at the student union? Sumaya, I'll start with you this time.
Okay, so I know that during Freshers Week, all societies are there to kind of promote their clubs, including sports teams as well. But I think that we should take it one step further and really enhance this throughout the first couple of months at uni. For some people, they find it quite difficult to either start a new sport or even join the existing team, either because they feel like they're not good enough or they've kind of come to a new environment and they're not very comfortable. So I think in general, again, it should really be the sports teams, the existing members who are really pushing to have new members and also invite people along from different societies, and as Susan has mentioned, really connect societies as well, because I think this is going to be a great way to improve inclusivity.
Amazing, thank you so much. Round of applause, please. Andrew, we'll go to you now.
So I feel, as the speaker said, that inclusivity is key, and we should make everyone feel as one in sports. I think sports is something which connects everyone. Again, people should have the options to join teams later on if some people miss their intakes. There should be places where they can actually play free sports with the university, so it boosts their morale to join the teams in the coming years. Also have more network, and the societies, the sports societies, being more active, so people take more interest in them and do not hesitate to come in and take part in the societies.
Thank you. Can you have a round of applause, please?
So I have a couple of points for this. I think EDI is such an important thing in our communities, and inclusion is such a topic that we need to take really carefully. And I think that with working with increasing the visibility of our teams and societies and sports clubs, that's going to really help a lot. But I also think that providing platforms, especially for people who are from marginalised backgrounds and from minority groups, giving them the platforms to speak on behalf of those social causes. So I think part of my manifesto is hosting a TED Talk at the university, and I think that would be a great way to start including not just our community but other communities too. And I think that would be a great way to start networking and building on inclusion, among other things like changing policies around marginalised groups too, especially in sports and societies too. So things like, I know Liv's been doing some amazing work with like transgender policies, and I think that would be great to expand on that even further, putting in zero tolerance policies as well for like bullying and discrimination and fast tracking those complaints too. But yeah, so inclusion is really important, and I take that really carefully, so yeah.
Thank you for your answers, Karen. The last question from me, and then we'll open it up to the floor. So, what is your top manifesto objective, and what impact do you think it will have on students? Drew, I'll start with you.
Sure. So my main objective is to make the SU more inclusive for students. Also, the fact that there should be more international sports events where students from other universities come in, take part, and sports is a competitive place. It will help to boost recognition of our university, and it will help our university propel to greater heights.
Thank you. And Susan?
So I think that the main focus that I have much including just sports and societies, because I think we have such a wide audience and community at Westminster that it's not just about affecting those that decide to go to sports and societies. It would be great to get more involvement in those, but I also want to be targeting everyone in our community. So bringing in workshops into the forums, bringing in policy changes and TED Talks, and bringing in connections with local communities as well, not just within ours, so that we can reach bigger networks and bigger communities. So that we're focusing on EDI, inclusion, and being people that lead in the university community, a good example of what we should be doing. But yeah, great.
Thank you. And Sumaya.
So for me, I obviously believe that inclusivity is very important. But with that being said, I think my main focus would be kind of working on the relationship between existing societies and the Students' Union. I've done some kind of preliminary research and I've spoken to societies, and one of the main concerns is enabling them to be the best they can possibly be. So I would really like to focus on funding and also just the relationship specifically between societies and the SU. I know that there are lots of issues that don't allow societies to kind of take their community, to take their society to the next step, and I really want to focus on the professionalism, and with that I hope to enhance everything else with the student union and societies as well.
Amazing. Thank you, Paula. And that, I'm kidding. So now we will be taking questions from the floor, but before we do that, just a reminder for the people watching this online at home or wherever they are, please do pop your questions in and we will be asking them in a minute. Okay, so can we please have a question from the floor on this side? Oh, maybe on this side actually. And then we will have the candidates answer. Can we have the, yeah.
Hello. My question is, could you please take a, well, it's not really a question, it's more of a, well, no, it's a question. What experience do you think that you hold which would allow you to make Westminster societies more of an inclusive and diverse place?
Great, so Sumaya, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So I am part of the Islamic Society at University, and this year specifically I'm the events officer. So mainly I work with my other committee members in order to run events all year round. But I think that in order for me to kind of work on inclusivity at the university specifically, I'm doing a really good job within my society first and foremost. I work with all of the students who come along to our events, as well as different societies as well, specifically MENA, and this is the Middle East and North African Society. So I do feel that myself as well, being a person of South Asian heritage, I am able to communicate well with other diverse ethnicities, and I feel that my previous experience will be able to help me focus on enhancing the inclusivity at uni.
Amazing, thank you. Suzanne?
So I didn't actually come to Westminster to begin with. I went to UAL for a year and I hated it. It was the kind of place that you put a bin bag on and put a Gucci belt on and you called it fashion, and it just was not my kind of thing. And I came here and I just sort of was like, I've got to take a chance on uni, and I needed to change something, so I came here. And I found my people, I found my skills, and I got stuck into MMA and the Salsa Society, and now I'm the president of the Salsa Society. I'm also vice president of the MMA club, and it's been amazing. I mean, our first year here before COVID, we were regulars at the karaoke night here, and I've really enjoyed getting to know this community and just being so involved in it and coming to the events. I mean, I work at the student union as well, and that's been an amazing insight into how everything runs. And all the work that we do here. So I think I do a really good job at continuing that work and knowing how it feels when you don't feel like you're included, because I felt like that my first year. So my aim is to not let anyone else feel like that, or to do my best job that I can do to make sure that that can be helped. Yeah.
Thank you, Susan. And Drew?
there's a pre-existing vice president of INSA, which is Indian National Student Association. We organize a lot of events and we try our best to include everyone and anyone who wants to take part. But I think the main thing we're looking at is why people feel that they're not being included. I think if we find the reason why people think that, we can actually come down to a solution. But again, we try our best to make everyone feel inclusive, and Westminster being such a diverse university, there's people from all around the globe coming in. It's easy for people to feel left out or not included, but I mean, if we can try to figure out a way why they think that they're feeling not included, we can probably have pressure groups or other focus groups where people can come in and say or have their opinions about why they think they're not being included, so we can come down to a solution and find a way to make them feel included.
Amazing, thank you guys very much. Next question as well. And now I'll be taking questions from this side of the room, so.
Thank you. Before I pose my question, first of all, it's a great initiative that all three of you are trying to put up, the equality of platforms. And as people said here, the candidates said that equal opportunity will be given to all of them, especially the Sean said the one was really good. But my question is, sports is a place, it's a very competitive place. It's a place where you deserve something or you don't deserve something. You have a talent or you don't have a talent. So don't you think in trying to, fill the void of inclusivity and bring minorities and caste and creed and color and cultural backgrounds, don't you think people who are actually deserving the place will miss out the opportunity? Because if you see it in international authorities and international challenges, there's no quota for that. There is no agenda that, we have to bring the minorities, we have to bring the inclusivity. Don't you think there's kind of a diversity thing and that's ironical at that point? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Should we start with Drew this time?
Sure. I agree with the fact that when you have said that sports is competitive and only deserving people deserve a place in that sense, but I also feel sports is something which is free for everyone to come and join, and it's sort of a thing where you take your mind away from other things and away from all the distractions. I mean, we can have areas where people can come and practice sports freely, and again, if there's teams, then there will be competition there, and only deserving people should be a part of that team, irrespective of where they come from, what color, and which country they are from. But again, teams, they have to prepare to win and get accolades for the university and take it to greater heights. So I feel if you have more spaces for students to practice sports freely, that can solve that problem a little bit.
Thank you. Susan?
That's a great question. So I think that, yes, we have to sort of put our best students forward for the competitions and things like that, but definitely I think we need to look at the policies as well and look at being more inclusive within those. I think that's definitely a place where that is lacking, so that it provides more opportunities for people. I think as well that, our sports clubs are open to everyone, and I think that we just need to increase that visibility as well, and the sort of events around trying to get new people to join those sports clubs as well, so that from all different backgrounds, all different abilities are able to come forward and get involved, because there's always a place within sports for everyone, no matter what your skill set is, what your background is, it doesn't matter. Sports is for everyone.
Thank you. And Lazi Smile.
So I definitely second what Susan said. I think that it's really important to allow everybody to kind of participate in the sports, and winning is definitely part of being part of the sports team. It's competition at the end of the day. But I think one of the great things is that we've got first team, second team, third team, so everybody gets a chance to play the sport that they sign up for when they join uni. So it's not a matter of if you've been playing for 12 years or if you've just picked it up. It's a chance for everybody to kind of participate, and I also really agree with the visibility as well, because I've actually hosted a netball session part of my Islamic society, but actually none of these girls had kind of wanted to join a sports team, and now they've seen that there is a space for them, and you can have kind of private practices, you can hire out the sports hall. So I think the most important thing is showing people that there is a way to make change, and as much as you can talk about it, you need to put the action in place.
Thank you so much, candidates. Very nice question there. We actually have time for one more question from the floor. Put your hand up quickly. Okay. Snooze, you lose. Put your hand up quicker.
So, my question is more about employability and from a postgraduate perspective. How will you incorporate EDI in employability opportunities for postgraduates? And a follow-up question is, how will you engage with the postgraduate community here at Westminster?
Sumaya, I'm going to start with you. That's okay.
So I definitely think that's a great question. Oftentimes people kind of neglect post-grad life. I think that people really focus on final year, and then after that students are kind of forgotten about. And especially with the pandemic, I know how difficult it is for postgrads to kind of find a place in the working world. So I think it would be really important for Westminster to specifically partner up with certain organisations that will help with finding a career, which would be great because we've got a really fantastic career service at uni. But I think joining an external organisation will also help wider outreach. But I also think pushing people to kind of understand the importance of focusing during their time at university should hopefully help them have a more positive post-grad situation. I find that a lot of the time, sometimes people focus in second year, but people I've been friends with, people I've spoken to, sometimes they've secured a post-grad position during their time at university. And I think that as much as you should enjoy your time at uni, the social life, the academics, societies, you should kind of have that think about the future as well, and I think the uni should push to support that.
Thank you so much. And Susan?
Yeah, so one of the biggest complaints that a lot of students have is that transitional period between when they graduate and finding employability. And I think the thing is now is like most people have a degree. It's not something that sets you apart as much as other things now. So what I would love to do is provide workshops within the forums on campus and bringing in organisations externally working with the societies and sports clubs. So things like British Heart Foundation or St John's Ambulance coming in and providing CV workshops, so doing basic first aid training that you can go to before your class, after your class, in your lunch break. It takes 10-15 minutes to get certified, and it's something that you can put on your CV. Volunteering opportunities with local food banks, bringing them in, doing assembly lines. After you've done a certain amount of packages, you can say that you've done some volunteering work with those charities. And these are great things to build up your CV with and help increase your employability prospects. So I think that even if you're undergrad or postgrad, I think those are really helpful things that we can put in place. I think working closely with the careers team, like Sumaya was saying, and increasing networks as well into the local communities and building up those relationships with our students so that they already have industry experience but also connections within there so that they can hopefully find work after university. So I think my focus is more whilst you're at university trying to bridge that gap between that employability for afterwards.
Thank you. And Drew?
So being an international student, I've come across this problem a lot from a lot of postgrad students where they find it hard to secure jobs. And if you're an international student, in order to cement your place in this country, you have to find a job so it can sponsor you and you can actually stay back. So I think in order to solve that problem, we can have speakers coming in and other organizations who can help them develop their soft skills, because being a new person in this country is somewhat intimidating, and for them to go on and about and find jobs and help with their CVs is kind of hard. So we can have organizations coming in helping them do that. Also, after they graduate, we can have more companies coming in to kind of scout them and scout people who are interested in those fields of work, and they can directly apply with them, which will kind of also motivate them to focus on their studies, because it's just 1 year that they get and there's so many things you can do in this country. So it's easy for people to kind of get swept away from their ulterior motive. So yeah, that's pretty much the point, and also have more companies coming in so people can actually apply to those companies directly.
Thank you, Karen. Okay, so So we will now have questions been taken online. So thank you for the people that submitted their questions, and thank you for everyone that asked their questions on the floor. So the first question is, how will you ensure societies get as much coverage as sports does? We'll start with Drew, and then it goes to Maya, and then Susan.
Right. I feel it's all about visibility, that we need to encourage societies to be on all social media platforms, because that's where you get more engagement and reach. Societies have to figure out a way, or we can help them find a way to be more visible, to help them organize more events, to give them more grants as sports societies get, so they can be more visible, they can have more events, and more people can connect with them. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Thank you. Sumaya?
Yeah, so I completely agree with what he's just said here. I do think that in order for societies to be recognised on the same level as the sports teams would be the SU pushing it. I completely understand that the Dragons are a huge part of the ethos at university, but some societies do feel neglected. And in talking to the presidents and certain members of these societies, they do feel that there are certain issues with room bookings, with funding, and because everybody doesn't feel equally supported, it's going to be hard for kind of societies to be taken seriously on the same level as sports teams. So I do think that we need to tackle certain issues regarding the relationship first, and then visibility is something that can be tackled next.
Thank you. And Susan?
So something that I'd love to achieve if elected in is creating a team specifically for societies and sports clubs, where they help give you workshops on how to manage your social networks, how to budget properly, how to connect with your local communities, how to push your visibility and things like that. So I think having a dedicated team created, which will create some employment opportunities as well, especially for courses that are doing marketing and management, sports management, and all those kind of things. But I think that with that, it will help the societies and the sports clubs sort of even out a little bit. And I agree with Smile that we should also be pushing the SU to promote the societies just as much as the sports clubs. So I think a team that is specifically organised for that will really help to even out that workload. But yeah.
Thank you. Can we please have a round of applause for the candidates? You'd be glad to know? I've got one more question again. Cool. So I have lectures when most of the student groups run sessions. What will you do to give students more free time to get involved? Start with Susan. I'll start with you.
That's a good question. So I think that having like the workshops, like I said earlier, in the forums that you can go to between classes or in breaks, making sure that we have events that run throughout different periods of the day as well, so that the student union put on not just the societies and sports clubs, because I know that it's kind of limited because it's the societies and the sports clubs that depict which time and where they're training. So we can definitely help build those networks and see if we can arrange times that they can do that during the day, but also in the evenings and on various days as well. But yeah.
Thank you. And Drew?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah. So I have lectures when most of the student groups run their sessions, but what will you do to give more students more free time to get involved?
Right. So to solve this problem, there's actually a point in our manifesto where we plan to have a day where all the classes of all the students finish at the same time, so they can have more time to go and engage in sports activities or societies. So, because again, as Susan said, some societies have events at different times, so it's really hard for students to kind of match that with the study times of the classes. So a day where all the classes finish at the same time, so that they have enough time to focus on these extracurricular activities as well. Also, help them to kind of understand that it's important to be a part of these societies or these activities, so it kind of boosts their morale to join them and be a part of them.
Thank you. And Smile?
So I definitely agree with the suggestions that have been given, but I do also think that there are a lot of members of certain societies who would be more than happy to have certain events run on the weekend at university. And I know that this is something that would definitely have to be spoken about with SU, with the actual University of Westminster as well. But having the platform and the space would allow me to push for this. And I know that if you're part of a society, you should hopefully be quite happy to come in whenever. And if it's an issue that you've got class, timetable clashes coming in on a weekend, and having the space available, hopefully there should be less clashes with room bookings, and societies will be able to have more time to promote their events.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Can you please have a massive round of applause for our candidates? So that is it for the question time for our VP Activities candidates. Make sure you go to uwsu.com just to check out everyone else's manifestos. There are QR codes around on the tables because technology, all you need to do is scan it and should lead straight there and get reading. So now we will have a 10-minute break for our VP Welfare activities. Again, thank you all so much for coming. Thank you again for the candidates, and see you in 10 minutes. Okay, welcome back everyone. Now we're in the second round. Here we have our VP Welfare candidates, and the questions will be asked as well, similar to the last session we just had with our VP Activities. For those of you that have just joined us, my name is Jamila Torres. I used to be the Vice President of Undergrad Education 2020. So thank you, candidates, for coming to tonight's event. Just to introduce you both, we have Samira Azir here, and we have Tarina Bangay. We do have apologies from Ron Radi, who's not well today. Thank you again for joining us. Again, you will have 2 minutes to give your responses to the questions we asked, and then we'll move on and ask questions from the floor and from the live stream. So just a reminder to have your questions ready, and same for the people watching us live. So, are we both ready? Amazing. Everyone here ready?
Yeah!
And for the people live, I hope you're ready. Can't hear you, but thumbs up and live stream if you can. Okay, so the first question I have for you is, how do you think the current support services at the university or students' union could be improved, and how do you intend on doing so? Tarina, I'll start with you.
Right, so hi everyone. I feel like our university has a lot to offer, like in terms of the mental health support. We have a well-being team, and there's so much going on. And the university already has a lot of initiatives and stuff. But the real question here is how approachable these services are. Are people actually aware of it? Is there real implementation around them? Does everyone feel confident in coming up, or probably, coming forward to say that, okay, we're not feeling good, or we need to have, we need some support? Are people feeling included? Do people really know, do the students really know that there's so much going on? The university has to do so much, they're offering so much. But, I feel that there needs to be like more active implementation, and also there's a real need to have, more awareness around these things. And I feel like all these plans should be, there should be periodic and continuous conversations all around, and the university already, it promotes everything on the social media, but I still think that there needs to be some more open conversations so people actually know that what the university is doing, what the university probably needs to start doing. And yeah, that's about it.
Thank you so much. Just hold the mic.
Okay, sorry, I hope you can hear me now. So yeah, I think, so we are doing a lot of things in, UWST, they do a lot of things. We have, sexual health advice, we have the meditation services, we have counselling services, we have the academic help services as well. But I think two of the biggest issues, I would say actually, is accessibility and representation. So with accessibility, it's also, what Tarina was saying as well. It's about how are students accessing these services? Are they able to? What are the barriers for this? And 7 in 10 actually young people who experience mental health conditions in the UK, they actually, they don't have appropriate intervention at a sufficiently young age because they are unable to access these services. So I think what is really important, and what I think I will be working, what I have actually been working on this year, this past year I've been working to obtain research from students across all higher education sectors to really understand the different needs and what is it that they actually need to access these mental health services. And I think one of the big issues has also been contact time with counsellors. So within my manifesto, I have suggested we work towards a one-stop shop, and that is what the research that I've been doing this year is going to go towards. And the one-stop shop will have all the advice, all the help that you basically need, all on one program. So one app or one website. And what this will do, this will limit the contact time. You'll be able to get in contact with a counsellor without having to wait for so long. You'll be able to also look at different sort of other tangible mental health support. So, looking at like physical well-being as well as spiritual well-being. It will all be on one website and one app, basically one program. And that is basically what I think how we can make it more accessible to students, is if we put everything on one website or program, and that will make it more accessible. Yeah.
Thank you both so much. Very good answers there. Moving on to the next question. What issues in student welfare and well-being do you think COVID exposed, and how does your manifesto respond to these emerging issues? Samira, I'll start with you.
Okay, I think housing was a really, really big issue. And it's something that affected me, and it's something that I was really, really passionate about, and I'm still really, really passionate about as well. I think with housing, we found out that there was no support for students put in place. They had no acknowledgement to their rights. They didn't know why they were still paying rent, even though they're staying back at home with their families. that was me. So, you know, it was about finding out exactly how to empower those students and how to make sure that they know what their rights are and how to make sure they know what they need to look out for. So this year I actually produced a housing guide, which is just in the final stages of being published. And once that housing guide goes through, then it will be on a tangible leaflet to students. They can get it at their help services, they can get it at any sort of advice centres, and they can have a look at that, and that has all types of housing advice on there. But not only that, I think what I'm going to also try to do with that housing advice is housing program, is put it on kind of different platforms as well, so it's accessible to all students, whether it's online, whether it's something they can hold, and make sure that they are aware that that is there and that is put in place for them as well. I've also been part of the tendering nominations for student accommodation. So that's something I'm also making sure that we have the right support put in place for the students, so they have someone, a property manager, that they can at least go to if they're having, even if it's, you know, a leak, or if it's what we may see as a small problem, it is a big problem for students because they have no idea how to resolve this issue. So for me, it's still working on that housing, not just leaving it with a guide, but actually still giving students that continuing support throughout their years, whether it's private or public accommodation. So yeah.
For sure, I agree with Samira. Housing was one of the biggest issues, but the other issue which I feel even I came across was my mental health and my sanity, my stability. Like COVID really posed some very serious challenges to each one of us, and I'm sure everyone here will agree with me. But due to COVID, I had to go back to my country, and I was still with my family. Even then, I had so many issues. Studying online, having time difference, and not being able to perform well, lack of motivation. There was so much going on. But I cannot even begin to imagine what happened to people who were miles away from their family, in distress, having financial issues, and so much was going on. And even today, I mean, after COVID and having territorial invasions like the Ukraine thing which is going on, there is so much on everyone's plate. So, I mean, even in my manifesto, my top objective is to, prioritize students' well-being and mental health. And, I feel that I'd be lying if I say I hadn't questioned my abilities more times than I'd care to admit. And I'm sure everyone, has felt, the real need of having mental health support. And COVID has really shown us that mental health is not just something random. It is very serious. Everyone's mental health is valid. Your feelings are valid. And the thing which I faced initially, I felt like I am the only one. But turns out I wasn't the only one. So I feel that people, we need to have more open conversations and encourage everyone to speak up, to ask for help, and just make everyone feel like we are here for them. All of their queries, all of their whatever they have in mind, everything is welcomed here. No one's judging them. It is okay to feel nervous. It is okay to feel anxious. It is okay. I mean, as I even posted on my social media account the other day that it is okay to show that you're not okay. And I feel all of this is supernatural, and no one's judging anyone here, and we are allowed to go back to a decision. We are allowed to have bad days. We are allowed to cry. There is nothing shameful about it. And yeah, I feel, if I get elected, I'll be working towards the mental health of the student body, so that I'm sorry, I'm having a back throat. So, that is one of my topmost objectives, to ensure that people know, that students know we are here for them. They are welcome, they can talk to us about anything. There is nothing, no one's going to judge them. And yeah, in the end, we are here for you. Our voice is basically your voice, so yeah.
Thank you. And the final question for me is, what is your top manifesto objective, and what impact do you think it will have on students? Taruna, I'll start with you.
Yeah. So as I just said that one of my topmost objectives is the mental health support for the students, and along with this, I am also including mental health with sexual well-being, because sexual health is as important as overall well-being. So I feel that we need to have more open discussions around sexual health, and having more awareness of body positivity, having the advocating more importance of having consent, and just having like a unified sense of community overall, so making people feel that it is okay, as I said before, it is okay to speak up, it is okay to ask for help. I mean, some people, like including me, even if I am going through something, I tend to get very hard on myself, but this is what I have been trying to overcome, that it is all natural and it is all okay. So yeah, this is my topmost objective. So improving mental health, prioritizing mental health, and having more periodic and open conversations around it, around mental health and around sexual well-being, and also around overall well-being. So if you're not good to anyone, if you're not feeling good yourself. And as an international student, I feel this is really important. So I felt a lot of these issues in the beginning. So if I'm able to help someone, feel half as confused and intimidated I was, I call it a success.
Thank you so much. I think one thing is really, really important to understand students firstly, and understand the fact that every single student's mental health looks different, and I think that takes time to understand it, and it takes real conversations to have been had with students to really get that. But I think one of my biggest priorities this year is that representation and that accessibility to those mental health services, to those wellbeing services. It's great having a university which offers ABC, but it's not great if we're not reaching those outcomes, and if those students are again not feeling comfortable to actually come out and reach to us, and that has a lot to do with representation. If we look at our counselling services, do we feel represented? Do we feel represented to go speak to our counsellors? Am I seeing another maybe Muslim hijabi woman to speak to, who I know will understand what I'm going through as a Muslim student, or as a woman even? No, I'm probably not seeing that in our counselling services. So for me, it's making sure that we are representing our diverse student body, because Westminster is such a diverse student body, and we really are proud of that. So it's making sure that I can see that a student is not comfortable. What is the barriers? Why are they not comfortable? Let me highlight that. Let me then go and speak to them and understand them better, understand what aspect of their mental health is, what really is the problem, I think it's easy to kind of generalize and say, oh, because of this is, because of online learning, for example, that's the main stress, and that's why students are going through it. But it's not that, it's just knowing that there are so many different reasons, and just being able to make sure that students are able to access again those well-being initiatives that we're putting out there. So I think, for me, it's really, really important to have that representation, really important to have that accessibility. Those two things are what will really make an impact to students' life, because they'll be able to use that and really get the support that they need.
Thank you. Can we please have a round of applause? So we will now open the floor for some questions. And just to remind you, for people in the live stream, pop your questions in and we will be asking them later on. So, very excited Maya right here. Can we have your question, please?
How do you feel your current experiences would help you kind of perfect your position as VP Welfare? And is there anything that you don't have experience in that you think would help you with this position?
Samira, I'll start with you.
Yeah, so as your current Vice President of Welfare, first of all, thank you for the questions, Maya. But as your current Vice President of Welfare, I think I have obtained a lot of knowledge and experience in this role to really understand what students want, what we're lacking in the Students' Union. And I have made those relationships with the university and those wellbeing advisors there as well to kind of work together to promote students' well-being and mental health. And over this year I have actually worked creating the 10 commitments, so our wellbeing framework basically, which will be published to students very soon. And there we put 10 commitments forward of how we are actually going to support you and what kind of tangible support we're actually going to give you guys. And that has taken a very, very long time to put together, but it's with that experience and with that knowledge I've been able to really make sure that I'm prioritising students and what they want to see. And so I think I do have a lot of experience in that factor of just being here for a year, and I really wish to carry on the work that I'm doing so that I can kind of see that finish line with students and I can see that that support that they're getting from me, and so I think that's basically it.
Thank you, Samira.
So in terms of the experience, I'd say I have been actively involved with the core curriculum in the university. So I have been a course rep. I'm currently the school rep for the School of Architecture and Cities. I'm also the society ambassador for the INSA, the Indian Society. I have been fans. I have been there's so much. I have also been, I am in fact a student ambassador since the last 3 years, and I'm also on the student advising panel. So I feel I have more or less a lot of experience both academically and into the administration of the student union as well. I have also worked as a student caller, and I'm still a student caller with the university, so I worked twice for the same role. And I feel like I'm also studying city designing, so our course of fields, it's very broad, so we have to delegate between, with different people. We have to, make decisions using tact and diplomacy. Sometimes we also have to negotiate and, convince other people. And, it's so broad. So studying city designing, it allows us, it actually demands us to be quick learners and adaptable in our skill set. So I have been, I've been learning, different skills and everything. I'm not perfect in anything, but I'm still learning. So as, I read it somewhere that even, the longest journey starts with a single step. So as long as I'm learning, as long as I'm not feeling stagnant, and I feel as long as I'm going forward, it's the best way to, come up. So, please, thank you.
Do you have another question from the... Yeah?
Hi, you both spoke a little bit about representation, and I know in your manifestos there's you've mentioned stuff around EDI. My question really is how you work to ensure that we do have representation amongst staff members in the SU and the university as well, and what steps that what that kind of looks like for you.
Thank you. Tarina, we'll start with you.
I'm sorry, I would ask you to repeat your question, please, if that's okay.
Yeah, so just around BAME representation, how you work and what the steps and plans you've got in place to make sure that we will have that representation amongst staff members and students can feel that they are represented with staff members that they see in the university and SU.
Good question, I'd say. But the second objective which I have in my manifesto is actually fostering a sense of community by pushing for equality, diversity, and inclusion. And in terms of that, for the implementation, I've been thinking that probably having more open campaigns and more, initiatives like culture fests, so where people can actually come together, interact with people from different, from diverse crowds. And having, just showing that every culture is welcomed here, and, in Westminster, there are over 19,000 people from over 160 countries. So I'd say that is the university is actually proud of its diversity. And I'd say, having, more campaigns and, talking about advocating the importance of, BLM or, ethnic minorities and everything. So basically, having something which actually, because of which the students actually feel included, and basically having something that makes them feel empowered, makes them feel connected, makes them feel, having like a sense of belongingness, encouraging that sense of belongingness amongst the students, and having like more open conversations, and it's all.
Thank you very much.
So I think it's really, really important that we remember that EDI needs to be embedded in every single thing that we do. It's not just well-being, it's not just mental health, it's working with the postgraduate officer, working with the undergraduate officer, working within education, looking at decolonizing curriculum, for example, or working with our activities officer and making sure that we're running campaigns which is inclusive to all students to get involved with sports and things like that. So it's not just looking at one sector, I think, first of all. It's just making sure that that work is threaded through everything that we do. Secondly, it's something that I've been working on is lobbying the university and the counselling services that we have at the moment so that we are able to recruit more a diverse workforce. And I think that has to do a lot with how we're recruiting. We're making sure that we're reviewing the way we're recruiting. Where are we putting these advertisements out? How are we getting people to work at university? How are we getting people to work at the university? What kind of incentives do we have? Are we making sure that we are not just ticking boxes and actually representing what our student body looks like? So I think it's looking at sort of that recruitment process also. And then I think it's also working with the officers is one thing, but also working with our campaign organisers that we have as well. And making sure that we're supporting them in running the campaigns that they think that their student demographic will really, really benefit from. And it's listening to what those students want and not thinking that you know everything or you know about EDI and you're going to change that tomorrow, because these things take time. But with listening and with learning as you go along, a lot can be achieved. So yeah.
Brilliant, thank you both so much. We have one more question from the floor. Yeah?
Forgive me if it's not very clear.
We have a mic coming from
Mr. Mike. Sorry. My question may not be very clear, so feel free to ask any clarifications. As a current member of a student group, I've faced and seen the mental toll that it can have on society committee members when it comes to running and facilitating events for our student groups, especially BAME student groups. What are you guys' plans to ensure that the last point of stress for student groups is the student union, and what plans do you have to ensure that it's easier for especially young BAME communities to run events without financial or mental strain?
Thank you. Samira, start with you.
Thank you for that question. I think, again, it's about working closely with, for example, those societies, those groups, and also the activities officer, working in collaboration with them to best understand how do they work, how do they run these events, what exact support do they need, if it's financial, how can we get that for them. So, for example, with Black History Month, I've supported ACS with raising their funds to run their events, and we've collaborated together with me as an officer and with the UWSU team. So I think that's another way, and we've also done that with loads of different societies this year, and that's how you can kind of speak to them and see what do they actually need from you, because it's not always just funding. Sometimes it's just having an extra pair of hands, or having someone who understands the way that student unions are run, or how events can be run, and what are the regulations, or what can't they do and what can they do. So it's just having that contact with the students. So I think I will try to better understand that with my activities officer and with the Action Society themselves.
Thank you, Samira.
I mean, I'd say more or less the same thing which Samira said, so having like active collaboration between different societies, so not just cultural societies, having like academic societies collaborate with some of the faith groups or some other cultural groups. Basically having, an active sense of bonding between all the different societies and clubs which are there, because basically all of them, not basically like, they are just there, they come to the fore only and only for the students. So having active implementation and not just talking, actually, walking your talk. So having, believing in more actions than just rambling. So, everyone can talk, everyone can come up to the stage and go on with their monologues. What actually matters is if you are actually trying to actively implement something, and that would be only possible if you have a centralized system and structured system, and if you have time-bound plans. So, and that is what I'll be trying to achieve this year. So if, as a weekly welfare, whatever I choose, I'll make sure that it's realistically feasible and it's realistically attainable. I won't promise something very vague or very circumstantial. So I will have a time-bound plan to achieve whatever I say. So I will only say the things which I feel need to be improved and which I feel I have the resources and the platform, basically the reach to achieve them.
Thank you very much. So we'll now move on for questions from our live stream. Thank you for those that submitted their questions in. We'll start with, do you think the university does enough to support students' well-being, and what more do you think they should do? So now I'll start with you.
I mean, as I said in the beginning, the university does a lot, and which is actually commendable. But I still feel there is some real need of having more awareness and more active implementation. These are the two things I've been stressing on since the very beginning. So as an international student, I hardly knew what the university does, what the student union was. And then COVID happened, 1.5 years I wasn't even here in the country. So I did everything because I actually explored everything. Nobody told me something, nobody really pushed me. I did it because I wanted to. Not everyone will have that kind of zeal or that kind of time, because everyone has different set of priorities. So I feel the university needs to have more active and open discussions, and basically having the students come in front. So it's all about the students. So if the students are happy, the university has, it presents a platform, because the university holds the future nation. So if the students are happy, they will be, motivated to achieve more, and they will reach their maximum potential. So, yeah.
Brilliant, thank you.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think it's about having that visibility and making sure that students are aware of what services are actually there for them and what they can access, and what barriers and why they can't access it. But I think it's also about creating spaces for students where they feel comfortable and safe, to even have those open dialogue and those open conversations about their well-being and their mental health. So even, for example, something that I've done this year is working on procrastination stations, which is a good way to procrastinate during stress and exam periods and periods where your mental health really does go through it, and you may not have anyone to speak to, and you may not want to speak to people, but you just want to have a space where you feel comfortable, where there are refreshments, where there are games there, where there's other students who are actually going through the same thing as you, funnily enough, and who you want to talk to, and it's had a really, really positive impact. So in my manifesto, I have mentioned that I want to basically widen this campaign, not just have procrastination stations every 2 weeks, but actually make it a campaign where I lobby the university to create a space for students on each campus where they can basically have a stress-free environment, and this goes towards that kind of approach of their mental health and their well-being, and that physical aspect as well as there, because it's where they can just feel relaxed and like I said, have those open conversations. And from those open conversations is when you start learning about students and start listening to students and actually seeing what they aren't getting from the services. So what the services, we have the services, but why can't they reach them? And this will only happen if we can make that comfortable space for students.
Brilliant. Thank you both very much. Moving on to the last question we got to know. How will you ensure that wellbeing campaigns and activities are accessible for every student at Westminster, including marginalised groups? Mira, I'll start with you.
Thank you, Russ. So I think what's really, really important, again, is to work with our campaign organisers. And we have so many different campaign organisers, and they are all student-led, which is really, really great. We have, women's officer, LGBTQ plus officer, organiser, sorry. So I think, and so many more, we have, 5 positions there. And I think it's working with them and making sure that that we are highlighting what issues and where is why students can't be involved in certain, or feel they're not comfortable to be involved in certain campaigns. And I think it's also looking at the way that we run campaigns and run events. So, Mental Health Awareness Week is coming up, or we're trying to make it a month actually, but so for me, the planning for that has been, I don't want to just do panel events where students come and just listen to speakers speak. I want them to be doing interactive workshops. I want to do online events, so for students who aren't able to come onto campus, they can still get involved, but through online events. Or it's just working with different student groups as well. So we're going to be in collaboration with many with many societies. So making sure that we are listening to what their student group wants. And what kind of help do they need? So I think it's working collaboratively with them, and making sure that you are able to see, not repeating as well the same things that you have seen going on, because that's where you can see the gaps of why different groups can't get involved. So yeah, just working collaboratively with different groups and listening to what students really want to see on campus and off campus.
Brilliant. Thank you, Samira. And
so I'd say for such a thing, we need to have well-being included with the with Eddie. So I'm going to actually refer to my manifesto here. So basically starting by reducing the stigma, and I'm not just saying only stigma because that would be very vague. A good starting point would be to actually mirror the society, and with the BLMs, gaining so much, awareness and so much popularity, and increasing awareness around people having different, who are differently abled, or having more, de-ethnic societies, and people having different sexual preferences or orientations. Bringing them to the fore, I believe the university has a good starting point to actually raise awareness and create some more impactful and real change, which is actually visible, which is transparent, which is not something just in the air, so people can actually see it, and also to ensure the very fact is acknowledged, is recognized, and implemented. And for this, I'd like to, start a campaign, having more open discussions and debates, and probably having speaker series which are literally tailored to, having more cultural awareness, and also organizing forums, and as I said, having more active speaker series. So regardless of all these social conformations we fall under in the university, in the workplace, and even beyond. Basically in the end, it is, all about ensuring that it's true, and, but to start somewhere, I would vouch for, Eddie with well-being in the university.
brilliant. Thank you both. That is it for all the questions. I just want to say thank you all for the audience for coming in, and thank you so much for VP Welfare candidates to come in and just engage so well with the question and answer time. Just a reminder to check out the UWSU website for all manifestos and for all roles. Again, scan that QR code, should lead you straight there. Just to remind you as well, to remember to vote from the 7th to the 10th of March. For tomorrow, due to the tube strike, we've made a decision to make the question and answer time live stream for your VP undergrad education candidates, VP postgrad education candidates, and your president candidates. Thank you all. so much, and that is it.